Is dating in 2023 easier than it was 2010 or even 5 years ago, or is it harder?
Easier.
Uh,
I think it's both easier and
okay.
harder. Sorry, bro.
No, I
I
didn't
think
think anyone was answering, so I was gonna jump in. Go for it, bro.
I think that there's a lot of things like dating apps and Instagram has changed a lot of shit. And I think that's obviously the biggest thing with a lot of us. The internet has given more access to the top quality guys for women. So a lot of the guys at the bottom are suffering utterly. I think what is it's like one third of guys in their 20s are virgins. I think that's a new statistic it came out with, which is fucking unreal.
Mhm.
And it's because all the other guys, the guys at the very top, are getting sex. So if you can be that guy who can get to that top like 5 to 1%, dude, it's fucking cake. It's amazing. But it takes like very specific knowledge now. Whereas before, I feel like there was a lot less need for a coach. Maybe about 10 plus years ago, before the internet became such a big fucking deal. And so whenever I deal with guys, like there's a very specific set of knowledge that I know, like for dating apps or for how to use Instagram or how to like pull girls into this and how to like maximize your cold approach game. Like I do a lot of social circle now in my cold approach. When I talk to a girl and I'm just not into her, or it's like just a friend, I friend zone her and I use her for later for pre-selection. Or I'll invite her to a party. Like me and my friends, they throw parties now, and we utilize this to network. There's a lot of stuff now that does matter. I mean, the same fundamentals of games still matter. The same things that used to attract girls still attract girls. It's just now there's a lot of competition, and all the girls are fighting for the top guys. And you got to find out how to be that top guy. Once you get there, honestly, it's easy. But it is going to be a lot of work for everybody. I think there's maybe a little bit more barrier to entry for some things, but cold approach actually for me has been easier than fucking ever, and it's been
Yes.
easier for me. Yeah, no guys approach anymore. A lot
Yeah,
of guys
I
are
agree.
places.
I
Yeah,
would say it's easier because of that. Like, like no one does cold approach anymore. Like, girls are super, super, I would not friendly, but like, it's different. And I can totally compare it because I have a private collection of my student approach. I probably have like a 200 hours. I usually record, I put microphones, like, I record all my clients, and basically record all their conversations, analyze them. So basically I have like around like a 200 hours over the last like probably 15 years. And looking at conversation that, that got you laid like a 10 years ago and looking what gets you laid now, it's much easier.
well,
Really,
does
like,
anybody
it's,
remember, oh, sorry, bro.
sorry?
Does anybody remember the RSD era back in like 2012, where like you go to the club and you approach a girl after you've been approached by a dozen guys, and you're now competing those dozen guys, not even just pickup artists, like actually just normal guys who are just cool. Nowadays, like you approach a girl, you likely you're the first guy to talk to her all night.
Yeah.
Even in Vegas, out here in Vegas, obviously it's kind of like it's a great place to go and approach. You think that more guys out here be approaching. Every time I go to a new city, everybody's soft, everybody's getting so cowardly about saying hi to a girl because society doesn't want you to. And it's like, I think being part of being a man is like pushing against society and deciding, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna approach her anyways, but nobody's doing it. Cold approach is so fucking easy.
I would say golden age for game or pickup is yet about to come in like 5 years from now.
Massively agree. I agree.
It's gonna be like, the thing, like, so the more people go online, the more people go on dating apps, Instagram, the more, the better it works on streets and clubs, and like, the better it is.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I
the
think
way I
there's
think about it is like when you see it like that, it's like there are two universes, there are two worlds. There's the virtual world and there's the physical world. And there are so many people fixated on their phones. They're going on Instagram, Facebook, Tinder, they're on the virtual world, which that's not a bad thing. I use Tinder. I love Tinder. It worked out for me. Absolutely use those things to your advantage. But there are millions of people using Tinder, but there aren't necessarily millions of people socializing on the streets in a way like this. And by doing so, you just automatically separate yourself from everyone else.
Yeah, that's what I did, like, 10, 15 years ago. Basically, I sat down and I'm like, okay, what is the hardest that was in a peak of with what everybody was doing when, like, RSD and Mystery, we're all like ruling the world, like, like I was like, what no one is gonna do, like which situation they will never approach. And I was like, okay, table approaches, 3 girls sitting on a table, coffee, restaurant. So I went and mastered that, like, I had no competition. No, they were approaching like, bars, clubs, things. I was approaching like, girls in Starbucks, coffee shops, restaurants, like, like super hard situations where like, kind of where everybody was afraid of. Basically, it literally had no competition. And that's how I feel like, day game today is like, it really is like, or, club game. And like there are more and more people, because they are so much in the virtual world, they're afraid to, to talk, to connect, and basically this, again, social and emotional intelligence.
You know what? That just gave me an idea. So I know from the conversations I had with you before that your mind is absolutely brilliant. What if we put together like a day game cheat sheet? Just random draft name. So for example, you mentioned like the hardest places to approach because people don't want to approach in those environments. So maybe we could categorize, not now, but for viewers at a later point, it will be amazing to come up with like a document that has a categorization of easiest to hardest. You already okay, damn. You're way ahead of me.
Yeah, I will send you.
There we go.
I
think you spoke on this a little bit, right? Where you said there's different categories here. And I think, yeah, look, a third of guys are fucking virgins in their 20s, but it's been like that for a while. I think it peaked like a few years ago, and then it's like come back down a little bit. But yeah, I think it depends. If you're online, it's going to be much harder, right? You're like 9-to-1 ratios on some of the apps. Like guys are getting better photos now. It's going to be harder on Tinder than it was many years ago. Cold approach probably got it easier. I think since lockdown, everyone became scared to go outside or even like fucking socially anxious to approach. So I've noticed there's a lot less than just a mass approaching the club. But either way, like I think I look at the two categories is guys that are like actively improving themselves and guys that aren't. So if you're in that category that is not, then yeah, you're going to struggle. There's less warm spaces. There's less meeting people through like natural courses, let's call it. So you're going to fucking struggle. Okay. But if you're someone that, as we mentioned, even if you're using Tinder and you've got good photos now and you've got like a somewhat of like text principles going, you're going to get laid. If you're going out and cold approaching, as Badboy mentioned, now's the time to do it, right? Like there's no one fucking going out. So this is your time to shine. And simply just being in that category of guys that are like trying to improve, you're always going to be in much better position than the guys that aren't. So I wouldn't worry about if it's gotten better or what. Who gives a fuck, right? You're in the category of guys that are like going out there and doing it. You're going to get laid.
I've actually been really consistent with getting guys results on dating apps. I haven't seen it yet to where the guys are starting to catch on to the whole. Like I think guys are most guys are so socially, sorry for the word, autistic, to where like they don't realize that something so simple as like a facial expression of photo can raise the value or the way that you look to the girl by like on a scale out of 3 out of 10. Like, so if the photo otherwise be a 9, if you have like a apologetic smile, it's going to really affect the way that girls react to that photo. And that's something that most guys are never going to pick up or ever even understand, because we're stuck in this very logical way where us as men, we're very visual. We don't understand that women are not so visual. Women care about status way fucking more than we do. I don't give a fuck if a girl is like a CEO at a company. I don't care how, like, if a girl is like friends with fucking like Drake. I mean, that'd be cool, but it doesn't make me more attracted to her. To me, I'm like, when I think like guys, I think actually they're way behind the curve. I think it's going to take another 5-10 years for guys to figure this shit out. There's specific knowledge that if you know, because guys are in such a victim mentality nowadays where they hate women subtly, they bitch about it online, they complain about how women have it so much fucking easier, not understanding that women live in this alien dating life from us. They have it pretty hard too, but it's in a very alien way in such that it's hard for us to understand because we live our lives the same way that it'd probably be alien for one of you guys to live in my body. It'd be like living through my lens of reality. It'd be hard for you guys to understand. And I don't think guys understand that. They think that women are visually attracted only and solely, and that's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. It's so stupid for people to fucking think that. There's nothing to say that. Like, it's obvious that women are different. Why would people assume that it's different any other way? Which I'm glad they think that. Makes it easier for us and all the people that come to us. Anybody who wants to get results, dude, it's like, I hope those fucking losers never figure this out, because then it's gonna be more competition for the rest of us. Like, we're not being compared, in isolation, we're being compared to each other. Like, if you ever go to a club where there's more girls than there are guys, the girls are going to be a lot more likely to be attracted to you because they're comparing you not in a vacuum, but to every other guy in that venue. If the other guys do figure this shit out, which they never will, these guys are all fucking red pillars and crying in the rooms, masturbating to like, I don't know, Pamela Anderson, saying like, fuck that bitch, but man, she's so hot. And like never like truly figuring this shit out. And honestly, I hope that guy never does. Because like it makes it easier for the guys that truly want this shit and deserve it. The guys are willing.
I would say let's conclude this question like, you know, guy with no, basically with no approaching like, you know, anxiety, who can approach with a basic game, can today have more success than 5-10 years. So yes, I would say like, you know, if you're comparing to some level of the game, you know, he can approach, he can talk, this guy can get laid today much faster than like, you know, 5-10 years ago. So yes, dating.
It's a lot more knowledge though that a guy needs to compile. Yes. Actually, I think there's more need for a dating coach than ever before, because the amount of information you need to understand the shit is very specific. Yeah, like
there's a more and more unwritten rules and like, you know, social dynamics, like, you know, what's wrong, what's not wrong, that they need to understand. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I merge all this stuff together. I like to try like make it as cohesive as humanly possible. So I merge my dating apps with my Instagram, with my social circle, with my cold approach. When I'm cold approaching, I'm building my social circle. I'm also using my dating apps to pull in, like, so I'll take like a hot girl to maybe a spot where a lot of people know me. I call it putting a girl on parade. I'll take that hot girl, and all the girls that know me there will see me there with a hot girl. And I take maybe a different hot girl there every week. It's a very specific spot I go to, and I use it to build a social circle so we can throw parties every other week at my boy's mansion. And then we use that to like, we'll maybe have like a 8-10 ratio of girls to guys. And then like through that, then we can build it up again. And yeah, I think it's just the game needs to change a little bit in certain ways. I think cold approach fucking like is killer. It's better than ever before, but you can turn it up even more by adding certain aspects to it. And if you know how to run your dating apps in a way, like I've had so many other dating coaches that I've taught this to, and they said that's bullshit. This can't possibly work. Then about 3 months later, they come to me and be like, oh my fucking God. Like it's so nuts. Dating apps are actually, I think, is an undervalued thing with certain people. Like us as dating coaches, I know a lot of you guys probably have your very specific things you're into, and some things you're like, fuck that shit. For me, like I used to be like that too. I don't know if anybody does, and there's some things I probably still do that about, but I try circle, dating apps, lifestyle, cold approach, very fucking big, and everybody wants to teach something different, saying that that's the number one thing and none of the other things matter. I think using those things in a cohesive structure is the best way to do this. And if you do that, dude, this 2023 is the best year to game if you're doing all that shit.
Yeah.